A ring? A promise? I wonder if this is going to be the final episode of Watson's Route. Several days had passed since the occasion of the fox hunt in Richmond Park and our ordeal pertaining thereto. So, there was no conveniently placed incinerator for you to walk into this time, so I assume you're alive. Scotland Yard had taken Colonel Moran into their custody, charged with plotting to assassinate Her Majesty. The audacity and terror of his scheme was on the front page of every paper in London, stunning every citizen of England. With Moran's capture proving the existence of the clandestine spellbound organization, Holmes was able to at last establish proof of his own innocence. Alright. None of us knew what had become of Jack the Ripper after that fateful night in the Baker Street alleyway. Please say that, also curiously, Jack from school disappeared too. But having been declawed during his battle with Watson, it seemed unlikely he would continue his murdering spree anytime soon. Are they like spellbound issued claws? One day, after all of the commotion had finally subsided... Are we ever going to talk about the kiss, Watson? A courier from the royal family came to deliver a message to Holmes, Watson, and I. To our great surprise, we were informed that Her Majesty wished to convey her thanks in person for our efforts in bringing the case to its conclusion. The three of us made our way to Buckingham Palace, where she waited to receive us. Man, I haven't seen Queen Victoria in a hot minute. This is great.
It's a pleasure to see all of you again. I don't believe we've had occasion to meet since you assisted in finding my dear Chelsea.
Looking as radiant as ever, Your Majesty. It was a singular honor to stand in Her Majesty's presence, seeing her smile.
And now I have the good fortune to find myself in your debt once more, Emily. How are your injuries?
I'm quite well now. They weren't especially significant to begin with, and I was in the care of a very skilled doctor.
Emily.
Daw.
I'm very pleased to see that you truly do look the part of a detective now.
With all due respect, Your Majesty, I'm still an amateur. Without the aid of my friends, I'm afraid my achievements wouldn't amount to much.
Your mother once said the very same. I see I shall have to continue doing my utmost as Britain's ruler to merit the courage and good faith you continue to display.
Thank you, Your Majesty. I bowed my head before her. She smiled at me before then turning her attention to Holmes.
As for you, Sherlock Holmes, I have heard much and more of your achievements. It would seem you have come into your own as a detective no less than your father. You have my deepest thanks for the considerable assistance you provided to Scotland Yard, as well as for your part in thwarting the attempt on my life. I look forward to seeing you continue to put your keen mind and abilities to use assisting those in need.
Of course. Thank you, Your Majesty.
She then moved to stand before Watson.
The music just stopped. I'm like, uh-oh.
Ah, William Watson.
Yes, Your Majesty.
I have something I would like to give you. Come here.
What?
Oh, is he finally getting his ring? He finally earned his ring. Yay!
To be a good detective requires of one skill in analytical deduction, insight, and a collected disposition. However, there is one quality which stands above even those, a quality essential to those who elect to follow that path. That is the capacity to safeguard and care for those whose lives have been caught up in the crimes you investigate. The ability to prioritize extending a helping hand to others, rather than allow our actions to be dictated by pure logic, is a virtue of which we detectives must ever be mindful. You, perhaps more than anyone, have within you that capacity to protect, to accept, and to support others. I am thus bestowing upon you this, as a symbol of the high expectations I have for you. Please accept it.
A ring!
The kindness and strength I see so manifest in you will no doubt serve as a source of great hope upon which the downtrodden and those in need can rely. I shall be counting on you, William H. Watson.
I won't let you down. Thank you, Your Majesty.
Well deserved. Well done. Watson graciously accepted from her a ring that had both Her Majesty's name and his own engraved upon the inside of the band. Her Majesty is absolutely right. When it comes to supporting others, few can compare to Watson. I'm sure that with such an abiding sense of kindness upon which to draw, he'll become a fine detective in his own right. As I watched Watson stare down at his new ring, I felt a happiness bubbling up within, as though I myself had been the recipient of so wonderful a recognition. I'm so happy for you, Watson. I never expected that Her Majesty would shower you with such compliments.
Neither did I have to admit. Still, whilst I'm glad for the additional ease this will afford me in my future investigations, it changes nothing about who I am. When I look at this ring, I see in it proof of the support you two have given me. How very modest of you. Perhaps one of us should look after it for safekeeping, then. Easy now, you know what I meant.
Just then, I espied Pendleton standing by a carriage, clearly looking for me. Oh, Pendleton! Over here! I waved my arm to get his attention, but without thinking, I had defaulted to my injured arm. Isn't that her left? Okay. Are you left-handed, Emily? Ow.
Are you alright?
Yes, I'm fine. It simply hurts a little when I move it too vigorously, that's all.
Honestly, if you know what will make it hurt, why don't you try to avoid doing that? Don't scold her too much. That's one of those qualities about her that makes her cute, if you ask me.
Hold on, Watson. What is that supposed to mean?
It's a positive sign, actually. If you're inclined to use your arm naturally without being wary of the pain, I'd say the healing process is coming along quite nicely. Still, while I'm certain this outing was sanctioned on account of being an invitation from Her Majesty, what's to become of your enrollment at the Academy?
Pendleton's given me permission to begin attending again.
Really? You're finally coming back to school?
I am, but only when my shoulder has fully healed without any visible mark remaining. That was his condition. Hello.
A completely fair one, I might add. And if there is a mark or blemish remaining, that's an entirely different matter.
You don't even show your shoulders, girl. No one's gonna see.
This is your fault, after all, and I'll be expecting you to treat it with the utmost care. Of course!
Holmes and Watson waved goodbye to me as I climbed aboard the carriage. Once I was settled in, we began our journey back to the mansion. The figures of the two grew ever smaller, fading into the distance. I'll never forget the events of today. I'm so happy for you, Watson.
I do hope you'll be able to resume your studies soon, my lady.
As do I, but I'm sure it will come in time. I have Watson tending to my recovery, after all. Now that I think on it, I'd love to show you his horse. His name is Platinum Rain, and he's ever so gentle a beast. His gait is elegant, even at full gallop. Watson allowed me to ride with him once, and...
He did he? That wouldn't happen to have been the day you snuck out of the mansion, would it?
How do you know that? Well, Pendleton ain't no dummy.
Still, that's good news for you, Watson, is it not? I suppose so. The challenging part has only just begun, though. In regard to her shoulder, you mean? Yeah. She's a girl, after all, and I would feel terrible if she were to have any sort of permanent scarring. I'll do the very best I can for her sake.
The two of them stood outside Buckingham Palace looking around. Rather suddenly, the two realized they were even now being approached on all sides.
Do you have any idea who all these people are? What do they want with us? I expect that they've come hoping for an interview with you. They're newspaper reporters. After all, you have now joined the prestigious ranks of Her Majesty's detectives. You'll come to find all of their faces familiar soon enough. Good luck. Ugh. I've never been much good at things like these. This doesn't bode well for me. Oh, and be sure to smile, Watson. I'm sure Miss Whiteley will enjoy seeing your face in the morning edition.
Nice. Go, Holmes. Get him. Get him, Holmes.
Don't go piling on more pressure than is there already!
Watson Jr., how does it feel to be inducted into Her Majesty's detectives?
Well, I won't be an easy turn, but I'll give it my best.
There's some refreshing honesty right there. Can we have a smile for the photograph?
Haha.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments you'd like to make?
Really? Was that half-hearted comment the most stirring statement he could muster?
He's trying. Give him time. The next day at Harrington Academy. Congratulations, Watson! I heard you're one of Her Majesty's detectives now.
Whoa, where did you come from?
Watson wheeled around in surprise as Kobayashi seemed to materialize behind him. Marple had spent some time as well.
Holmes had been gone for some time, and he had seemed quite downhearted. I'd been worrying for the both of you. So, you can imagine my surprise at seeing your face in the morning paper.
Yeah.
Your comment to the press was characteristically upbeat. Though I have to say, it did feel a little on the half-hearted side, don't you think?
Well, youth and wisdom seldom walk abreast, as some might put it.
Dang, even Lupin's dunking on him. That is rough. You've got a lovely smile in the photo picture, though. A bit stiff, but that just adds to your charm, I suppose.
Lupin, can we please change the subject? I think he's perhaps suffered enough. Leave him alone.
You're regretting how it played out, aren't you? Still, that makes you just one among many who've bungled their first moment in the limelight.
Marple, could you not join the others in rubbing salt in my wounds?
There's a certain sort of amusement to be had in it.
Still, it's quite the accomplishment to be recognized as one of Her Majesty's own detectives.
I suppose there is. Still, all of you already have badges, don't you? Excluding our 2 exchange students.
You did prevent an assassination attempt on Her Majesty, after all. You more than earned this.
Akachi! Finally, a voice of reason. It seems you're my sole ally here.
Until Miss Whiteley returns safely to school, I'm afraid I cannot say whether or not I'd consider myself your ally.
Dang, Akachi!
Damn it, Akachi!
At any rate, congratulations are in order. No doubt you'll soon have plenty of work coming your way.
I wouldn't be so sure of it. I already have nearly all the work I can handle just being Holmes's assistant, after all.
And now that you've dropped your old crestfallen fellow routine, the atmosphere in the classroom is all the brighter for it. True, not to mention Holmes's return.
I'm glad for you too, Holmes. Now that you've been able to show conclusive proof of Spellbound's existence, you're no longer a suspect in that dreadful murder. You owe that to Watson, too. You've thanked him for his efforts, haven't you?
Of course I have. Huh? I don't remember the— Oh!
Thank you, Watson. Holmes planted his foot squarely on Watson's toes, knowing exactly where to apply pressure to cause the greatest discomfort. So practiced was this motion, the others seemed to scarcely notice it. Suddenly, Watson began to scan the classroom, feeling as though something was amiss, but unable to put his finger on exactly what. Ah, he's gone.
You know, come to think of it, is Jack not in today?
He's had to take a leave of absence for a while. Family business, it sounded like. Very unfortunate.
Really? I wish he would have at least said something before he left.
Yeah, very unfortunate, that. So, when's Emily going to be coming back to school?
That I can't say.
Miss Marple has been planning a little celebration for you after school today. But do you think you'll have the time?
I should stop by and visit Emily after school. I want to check on how her arm is healing and—
Watson? Are you even paying attention?
Just as I thought. The lights are on, but there's no one at home.
I imagine he's probably got his mind on Miss Whiteley at the moment.
Hey, I have an idea. How about on the way home?
Oh my! I like that. In a hushed whisper, Kobayashi related his plan, and together they all nodded their agreement. What are you guys planning this time? Only Watson, oblivious to all that was taking place around him, remained in the dark. Later that day at the Whiteley mansion. It's just about that time. Lessons will finally be over for the day and everyone will begin making their way home. I can't wait until I'm back at school myself. Will Watson come to visit today? I peered out the window just as I had that morning on the day of the hunt. I felt a sense that, if I did so, Watson would be waiting for me below as he had then. Suddenly, I heard a knocking at my door, followed by Pendleton's voice.
My lady, may I come in?
Of course! Thank you, Your Majesty. Emily, are you okay? You good, girl? Well, I'm sure that was perhaps an error. That was really funny. Okay, calming water. We're good.
You have a visitor.
A visitor? Is it...
I shall let you dispense with the guesswork. Come in.
At Pendleton's call, someone appeared behind him.
Hello, Emily. How's your shoulder feeling today?
Watson, you came!
That I did.
Watson flashed me a kind smile.
Well, I'll leave the two of you to it. Remember, Watson, I'm counting on you to make sure my lady isn't burdened with any lasting marks or scars. On my honor!
Watson gave a short bow to Pendleton. The door closed and we heard the sound of Pendleton's footfalls as he descended the stairs. Thank you. You've been stopping by every day.
Don't let it trouble you. I came because I want to, and because it's my fault you were injured.
You know that's not true. You saved me, so please, don't apologize.
Thank you, Emily. Anyhow, let's have a look, shall we?
Watson made it sound like the simple medical checkup it was, but each time I showed him required me to unbutton my blouse. Scandalous. He's not even a real practicing doctor. Hold on a minute. Pendleton, you set this all up. All right. I'm sorry.
Sorry? Whatever for? There's nothing to apologize about.
Watson chuckled calmly. You really think so? I showed him the wound on my shoulder, unable to help feeling rather embarrassed about exposing myself in such a manner. But dwelling over long on what I was doing only served to increase my discomfort, so I tried to shake it off and embrace an air of nonchalance.
Oh, good. It seems to be healing up nicely. At this rate, I don't believe you need to worry about it leaving a mark. By the new year, it should be as though it was never there. You'll be able to wear whatever sort of dress you want.
Watson wasn't behaving strangely toward me at all. Not that I wished him to, of course. His mannerisms were direct and straightforward. He the doctor, and I his patient. And yet, I couldn't help but feel somewhat sad that his behavior toward me was so normal. Really, I'm glad to hear it. Despite my saying so, however, there was something within me that felt dissatisfied.
I thought you'd be happier about it. I mean, you want it to heal up like it never happened, don't you? As a woman, once you've graduated, you'll surely find a suitable marriage partner. Oh, what am I saying?
Watson forced a smile, looking directly at me. His face as he tended to me was so full of kindness that I couldn't help but feel a certain sadness. I know. It's strange, though. I feel like I'll be sad to see it finally disappear. Perhaps because I get the sense that once it disappears, you'll gradually recede from my life, just like the traces of that wound. Whoa. Good on you for saying it, girl. The words had left my mouth before I had even weighed whether to say them.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's come over me. Besides, ever since the incident in Richmond Park, Pendleton seems to have really begun to trust you.
Really? That's not the impression I get from the way he talks to me.
I'm certain of it, though. That way he looked at you earlier is the way he looks at people in whom he feels safe placing his trust.
Well, if you say so. Perhaps it was just my imagination, then.
Suddenly, I heard another knock at my chamber door.
Have you still not finished disinfecting the wound, Watson?
I could hear Pendleton speaking from the other side of the door.
Almost. Just about finished.
Watson finished his treatment and helped me button up my blouse, returning me to a state of decency. Is it harder to button than unbutton? She unbuttoned hers. Oh, never, whatever. Whatever.
Thank you.
Well, we can't have other men taking a peek, after all.
What? That kiss sound. He smiled and gently planted a kiss on my forehead.
Oh?
It happened so suddenly that I was scarcely able to process it until it had happened. Man, he snuck that kiss in quick.
My lady, I'm coming in.
All right, I'm decent.
The moment I gave him my permission, Pendleton stepped into the room, composed as he always was. In his eyes, the look of trust about which I had just told Watson was not visible in the slightest.
Pendleton looks rather imposing.
If not for your administering treatment to her wound, I would have separated the two of you long ago.
But no sooner had Pendleton begun to speak than Holmes entered the room as well.
I share Pendleton's point of view, Watson. After all, think of how we must feel coming all this way to visit and being forced to bide our time outside. Holmes! You never express any intention to come visit.
Even Lupin came to visit. What the heck? Hi, Lupin.
Hello. We all came with him, actually.
Yes, a lot of us are here. We've been so worried about Miss Whiteley.
That's why we're here, of course. But what are you doing here, Watson?
If I may interrupt, I've prepared some tea for all of you downstairs. If you would be so kind as to accompany me.
Yes, it's the most awkward tea party ever. We gathered together in the mansion's drawing room for some tea.
Thank you all so much for coming to see me like this.
We wouldn't have had to if you weren't so prone to overexerting yourself, you know.
You really do. But I'm glad to see you looking a fair bit better than I expected.
I'm really sorry to have caused you all such worry. We do apologize for coming in such a large group.
Here you are. Autumn tea, brewed from leaves freshly picked and dried.
Thank you very much. Oh my, it's delicious. I'm happy you enjoy it. What's wrong, Emily? Nothing.
I smiled, doing all I could to act as though I was fine, but Marple didn't take her gaze from me.
Incidentally, Watson, in light of your recent altercations, do you feel your training has produced beneficial results?
Without a doubt. I really owe you for all your training and assistance. I've learned a great deal from the time we spent.
In other words, you believe you've fully mastered all the concepts in which I instructed you?
I'd hardly go that far, but I feel like I found an answer to what was troubling me.
Interesting. Do you believe that, were we to spar again now, you would emerge victorious?
I don't think I was implying that either. At the very least, though, I feel like I could hold my own against you on even terms.
Alright.
I see. It sounds then like we had to put that hypothesis to the test.
This could be interesting. I volunteer myself as referee, then. Would it be possible to have use of the garden, Pendleton? Certainly. We also have some fencing épées on hand that you may use if you like. All right! Then, by way of thanks for all the help you've given me, let me show you how I put what you taught me into practice.
I'm looking forward to it.
The three of them stepped out into the garden.
This sounds like fun. I'm going to just make sure Watson doesn't try to pull anything funny. Me too.
You guys just want to watch the fight. In short order, all the boys had gone to the garden to watch the duel. Can't we go watch the duel? Only Marple and I remained in the drawing room. It must be nice to be a boy.
I can't believe the lot of them. How could one want to fight in such a well-kept garden?
It's alright. I was getting bored stuck in the mansion all this time, so having all of you around making it lively is rather nice.
Well then, are both of you ready? Alright. The match will be decided as the best of 3. If your sword touches the opponent's body, or if your opponent falls, you will be awarded a point. Though I'm aware both of your styles are quite different, I shall endeavor to administer fair judgment. I'm ready!
As am I.
Then let us begin. On guard. Ready? Play!
At Holmes's signal, their bout began. I heard the sounds of their épées swishing through the air, clinking against each other, and the shifting of their feet on the ground.
Go on, Akachi! Don't let him get the better of you! Give him all you've got, Watson!
Watching all the boys together for a moment, enjoying themselves in pure sport like children, brought a smile to my face. It made me happy, but I also felt a twinge of loneliness. Watson looked so much more full of life rushing out to the garden for a match than he had when he sat beside me as I recuperated. But seeing that disparity served only to make him feel all the more distant. It seemed like such a long time since I last saw him enjoying himself so. Watching them, I can tell they'll be able to remain friends like this throughout their lives. Watson may be by my side now, but once my shoulder has fully healed, that's it. I doubt I'll be able to remain as close to him. That abrupt music changed, though. Just as that thought dawned on me, I noticed Marple suddenly giving me close scrutiny. Marple, talk some sense into your girl.
Is something the matter, Emily? You looked a bit despondent just now.
Do you think so? I'm just watching everyone enjoying themselves.
Still, I'm happy for you. It sounds like your shoulder has almost fully recovered, and Watson's been treating you with care and kindness.
What do you mean?
I mean that Watson's more than just a kindly friend to you, isn't he?
Marple?
Whatever you tell me, I'll hold my silence on it. How have things been between you since that day in Richmond Park?
Marple didn't seem to have any intention of letting the matter go. Good girl. Hold on a minute. I don't really...
The two of you seem to be very close, that much I can see. But I get the impression there's still something standing between you two. Some barrier neither of you can get past. If you don't do something about it, I fear you'll never be able to move past simply being friends.
Marple? Where did this come from all of a sudden?
My grandmother told me once that a lady in love glows with a light all her own.
I thought back on the events that transpired in Richmond Park. Watson had embraced me then, holding me tightly to his chest. All it took was the recollection of that moment to rekindle the complicated net that had become my feelings toward Watson. Perhaps I felt as I did then because of his happiness at seeing me safe, in the way a friend or sibling might with that friendly sibling kiss he gave you. Girl. Well, on that day, he...
Go on. What did he do?
He hugged me. He also kissed me, but little has happened between us since then. Perhaps it's better that I not mention that to Marple.
Oh my.
Still, I cannot help but think that if I try to press my relationship with him further, I may lose what we already have. I think he was simply glad that I was relatively unharmed. And honestly, if such a gamble would put my friendship with him at risk, I would rather things remain as they are. That's right. We can continue being friends.
Your expression implies you'd be perfectly all right with that, but I have my doubts. You can't seriously believe that, can you?
Before I was able to finish my thought, Marple interrupted me.
No relationship is a fully static thing. They always
always tilt one way or the other, you know. So if you don't make up your mind right now, you won't be able to remain this close in perpetuity. Are you telling me you'd be all right with that?
With her intuition, Marple had set anew a great weight that pressed down on my heart.
Of course.
Then why do you look like you're about to cry?
I do not!
I did my best to twist my lips into a convincing smile.
But
don't worry. There's nothing for you to fear. I'm sure things will work out for you.
The sinking feeling in my stomach made me feel as though if I didn't keep my gaze pointed at the floor, I truly would burst into tears. All I could do was stare at the ground blankly as Marple tousled my hair with her hand. Moving my arm, I felt the slight tingle in my shoulder, but more than pain, the memory of that sensation filled me with a strange sort of sadness. Thank you, Marple. As it so happened, everyone stayed at the mansion, visiting until well into the evening, but eventually the time came for them to depart.
My, that was quite the lively afternoon.
Indeed. Without them all here, talking and laughing, the mansion feels so quiet, though. I cast a longing glance at the room where we'd all sat and had tea together just a scant few hours before. I looked out upon the garden where Watson and Akachi had carried out their impromptu duel and was suddenly filled with a staggering sense of loneliness.
My lady, I'm sure your shoulder will be fully healed very soon. It won't be long before you'll be free to attend your lectures again.
Yes, you're right. But the more I tried to convince myself that I would be fine with the way things were, the more I doubted my own words. What should I do? What would Mother have done? I turned to where the family portrait hung against the wall, hoping against hope that seeing them might conjure up some answer. But in spite of my longing, no answer came to me.